Today in Sharm el-Sheikh, world leaders gathered under one banner, literally a giant sign that read Peace 2025, for a summit meant to lock in a fragile ceasefire, move hostages home, and start the long, difficult work of rebuilding Gaza. What happened, who showed up, and why the whole thing felt both historic and oddly theatrical, let's unpack it. First, the basics. The summit took place on October 13, 2025 at the Sharm el-Sheikh International Convention Center in Egypt. It was co-chaired by Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and US President Donald Trump, and it followed a recently brokered first phase ceasefire and a large hostage detainee exchange that stunned the region. Why this summit? Organizers wanted to translate a fragile moment, the release of hostages and a temporary truce, into a bigger political framework, humanitarian corridors, reconstruction money, and a plan for stabilization. Trump presented what's been widely called the Trump Declaration for Enduring Peace and Prosperity, a multi-point framework intended to bring international backing to the ceasefire and reconstruction plan. So, who was there? Roughly 27 to 30 countries sent senior leaders or high-level representatives. On stage or in the family photo, you will see presidents and prime ministers from Europe, the Middle East and beyond, from France and Turkey to Qatar and the UAE. International figures such as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and even FIFA President Gianni Infantino were in attendance, the latter prompting a few eyebrows raises online about sports officials at peace conferences. Notable attendees include Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Donald Trump, Sheikh Tamim of Qatar, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer, and representatives from the European Union and Arab League. Several countries from Europe and the region and leading international organizations signed on to the joint declaration. But two obvious absences shaped the room's tone. Neither Israel nor Hamas had official delegations at the summit. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was invited and initially signaled interest but ultimately did not attend. Erdogan reportedly opposed Netanyahu's presence, and Hamas, for its part, did not send an official delegation. A fact critics says undercuts any claim that the summit resolved the conflict's political core. So, what was actually achieved? Leaders signed a joint declaration endorsing the ceasefire and pledging humanitarian and reconstruction assistance. The declaration is symbolic. It signals international will and money, but many analysts have pointed out that it's short on binding mechanisms for governance, security in Gaza, and how to manage disarmament and long-term political arrangements. Okay, now for the bits that made the internet laugh. Summit photo ops are always awkward, but this one had its own comic relief. At one point, the host walked leaders into a staged family photo, and the cameras caught attempts to get everyone to smile and pose. A few leaders obligingly flashed thumbs up signs, including Gianni Infantino, the FIFA boss, which led to an avalanche of memes. When your peace plans needs extra time but your PR team really wants a viral photo. There were also small human moments, leaders whispering to each other, heads bent in quick private conversations, and the inevitable group shuffle as photographers yelled for one more picture. Those micro moments matter. They are where deals are nudged forward, but they also remind us that diplomacy, even at its most solemn, has a human and occasionally goofy side. Importantly, this summit happened against a backdrop of scenes on the ground. Jubilant crowds in parts of Israel where released hostages were reunited with families, and Palestinians in Gaza tentatively celebrating the arrival of aid, even as violence did not entirely stop in some areas, and NGOs warned of a massive humanitarian challenge ahead. So, what comes next? And where are the risks? First, implementation. Delivering sustained humanitarian access and rebuilding infrastructure is expensive and complicated. Second, security. Any long-term settlement needs credible arrangements to prevent renewed fighting. Third, legitimacy. Without direct, sustained involvement from Israel and Hamas, or at least clear buy-in from representatives, Palestinian institutions, the plan may lack the on-the-ground authority it needs. To sum up, Sharm el-Sheikh was an important diplomatic moment, a public display of international will to turn a short ceasefire into a broader peace process. But symbolism doesn't equal settlement. The gloss of Peace 2025 and the viral smiles won't rebuild hospitals or resolve deep political disputes overnight. The real story will be in the weeks and months when aid flows. Security arrangements are tested, and political actors either build on the declaration or quietly revert to old patterns. If you found this useful, hit like, subscribe and ring the bell. I'll be tracking follow-up developments as they happen and breaking down what every new step means for people on the ground. Drop a comment which moment from today surprised you the most. The summit's big names, the lack of Israel and Hamas, or the finger-wagging photo ops. I'll see you in the next video.